So, today I am going to be ranking every single Call of Duty game that has ever came out, ever. Every single one of them. Now, usually when I do these ranking videos, I go from worst to best, but today I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to be doing a tier list here. We're going to be going through them from the first one to the last one, and I will tier them up and kind of rank them in order. Let me know which format you guys kind of like better, so we're kind of testing it out here. Just let me know what you guys think. You might be thinking, why should I be ranking Call of Duty? I'm not a Call of Duty YouTuber. I've never even talked about Call of Duty on this channel. Well, it's very simple. I am uniquely positioned to talk about this series. I have been playing Call of Duty since I was like this big. Now, I'm only a little bit bigger than this. I'm not a very tall man, but I've been playing Call of Duty all my life. I've played every single one. I have been playing multiplayer for years. I've done every Easter egg on all the zombies maps. I was a trick shotter for years and years and years. This YouTube channel right here was a trick shotting YouTube channel for so many different years. Don't believe me? Check this out. Oh my god! I played competitive, I did all this stuff. I am one of the few people on this planet that I think is qualified enough to be able to rank Call of Duty games. With all that being said, I am not a Call of Duty channel, so if you're here just because of Call of Duty, you should stick around, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. I cover movie, TV shows, video games. I talk about anything and everything on this channel. So if you like this video, come back for some more. Outside of that, let's jump right into it. We start off with the original Call of Duty. Now, Call of Duty 1 is a classic in my mind. I played this game all the way back on the PS2 when it first came out. I used to play it with my dad. I used to watch him play it, and then I would play it, and it was just tons of fun. But this is a very bare-bones Call of Duty. It's a very, very bare-bones video game. A very simple plot that takes place in World War II. You get to play as different members in different countries and go on different sort of simple missions throughout the landscape of the war. The combat is very simple, although you could feel where sort of a lot of the ideas for the basic Call of Duty combat came into play. This is a classic first-person shooter, but there's really not much here that I could recommend going back and playing today. This game does not age super well. Because of that, we are going to put it in the good category. Now, Call of Duty 2. Now, I'm actually going to count Call of Duty 2 as two games, because you have the original Call of Duty 2 that came out, and it was a very solid game, but I personally do not have many great memories with it. Yet again, I played this one with my dad. I used to watch him play a lot of it, but I myself did not play a lot of this game because I was playing Call of Duty, the big red one. This is, for me, Call of Duty 2. This is the second Call of Duty game I ever got into, and I played the living shit out of this one. Now, I don't remember if there was a multiplayer component to either of these games, because I never played it, but the campaign of these games was so much fun. I would hop on the big red one and just jump into the campaign and play the same couple missions over and over and over, because I was terrible at video games and I didn't know how to progress. Seriously, when I was a kid, I used to sit in, like, the open pad of Super Mario Sunshine and just fly around and never play missions, because I didn't understand progression, and that was okay. But these games are great. Because of that, I'm going to put Call of Duty 2 there, and we're going to find the big red one. Here it is. We're going to put that in great. Now, they will probably be at the bottom of the great tier, but that's okay. Call of Duty 3. This is the first game that I played multiplayer in. Call of Duty 3 is a great game, but it does have more issues, I think, than the previous two. Mainly because I think the story for this one was just not the best. I remember this campaign being very disappointing, and I remember the multiplayer being not great. Now, at the time, you know, playing this for the first time, Xbox Live, I didn't play it at my house because I didn't have Xbox Live, but watching other people play and playing it at my friend's house, it was very cool at the time. You guys have to understand, if you're somebody who's my age and played these games as they were coming out, online multiplayer was a new thing. It wasn't something that was really as easy to access as it is today. So seeing multiplayer and shooting other people in video games that were playing somewhere else in the world, that was just cool. And that in itself made this game awesome, but the game is not that great. If you go back and replay it, if you play the campaign, if you play the multiplayer, if you could still get lobbies, it's just not the best. So we're going to put Call of Duty 3 in the mid. It's not bad, it's definitely not trash, but it's mid. Mid! Call of Duty 4. Holy shit. Yeah, this is the first game that really hooked its teeth into me, and this was where I truly started my Call of Duty journey. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is revolutionary for a multitude of different reasons. This was the first game in the Call of Duty series that really kind of honed in its multiplayer experience when it comes to kill streaks, when it comes to the typical game modes like Team Deathmatch, like Domination. It had the classic 3-lane map structure for a lot of its maps. It also had other maps that weren't 3-lane and were just great classic maps. You had one of the best campaigns ever where you meet characters like Captain Price and you play as Soap and you're taking down the Russians, and it's just a really great campaign. You had awesome menu music, just like that is memorable and awesome. This game still plays well today. The game is so much fun to play. It's very bare bones, it's very simple, but it's the best simple Call of Duty could ever be with its maps, its gameplay. It is just such a fun game. The sniping is great, the combat is great. I loved this game as a kid, even if I didn't get to play it a lot at home. You know, I played the campaign a billion times at home, and then I'd go to friends' house to play Xbox Live, because yet again, at the time, I did not have Xbox Live. We didn't have Wi-Fi in the house, which sounds crazy now, but at the time, it was relatively normal to not have a freaking router in the house in like the early 2000s. It happened. Or I think we did have Wi-Fi. You know what it was? The old Xbox, I think you needed to connect like an Ethernet cable to some of them. Or maybe I'm just dumb. Who knows? Either way, I didn't have the game. I couldn't play the online version of it. But either way, it's a masterpiece. COD 4 is great. We're going to put COD 4 all the way. We're going to put it in the greatest of all time. There's a few games that are going to make that category. I think it's in that top 3, top 4 conversation of Call of Duty games, so we'll keep it there. Call of Duty World at War. This is the Call of Duty game that after COD 4 brought the game back to World War II, but did it in a way that was similar to COD 4 when it comes to its multiplayer structure. The multiplayer in this game is very, very similar to COD 4. Very bare bones, very simple. The maps are a little bit bigger. There's a little bit bigger scope to a lot of it, but the combat is still fun. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I don't think it's as good as COD 4's. It's not as smooth. I don't think the maps are as good, but the game is still beautiful to play. It was so much fun at the time. You had graphic violence in the multiplayer. Like if you blew somebody up, their whole bodies would explode, their heads would fly off. Like shit like that was cool. You still don't really see it in COD games today. This game had an awesome campaign. Just like an incredible, incredible campaign where you meet Reznov and you meet all these different characters on the American side of it. It is just such a great campaign that I played through hundreds of times. And then of course, you have zombies. This is the game that introduced zombies, which I remember as a kid scared the shit out of me, but I loved playing zombies. I remember playing Knock Their Own Totem a billion times, and then I would go to friends' houses to play the DLC maps, because yet again, I was poor, didn't have internet, didn't buy the DLC packs, but I'd go play Shi No Numa, Doris. We and my friends at school would theorize and speculate the story and what's going on. What are these radios? What's this dude hanging on Shi No Numa? It was so cool, so much fun, such great memories. This is a fantastic game that I just think is not as good as COD 4. So we're going to put World at War in fantastic. Next up is Modern Warfare 2, and my god, where do I even start with this game? This is the game that took the concept that was COD 4 and expanded in World at War, and it just blew it up and showed the world what Call of Duty could actually be. This is the game that I truly think put Call of Duty on the map as like the #1 franchise in the world. Modern Warfare 2 is incredible. When this game came out, it completely blew my mind. First off, the campaign is unbelievably good. It's one of the best campaigns in the history of video games. Then you have the Spec Ops mode, which is so underrated. Nobody talks about Spec Ops. They've tried to revive that mode many, many times in recent games, and it's never hit the same way. I don't know what it was about the Spec Ops in Modern Warfare 2, but I remember playing the holy heck out of it, and it was just one of the best side modes in gaming. It was just so good. And then the multiplayer. I mean, the multiplayer in this game is awesome. It has expanded kill streaks, bigger, better maps, great sniping, great trick shotting if you were into that. Just so many different options through this multiplayer that was just so much better. You have such great maps like High Rise and Terminal and just so many different maps. This game's a classic for a reason. It is one of, if not the best game in the history of Call of Duty. Everybody loves it. It's one of my favorites, but it's not my favorite. We're going to put Modern Warfare 2 in the greatest of all time, but we're going to put it right behind COD 4. My personal opinion, I like COD 4 a little bit more. Next up is Call of Duty Black Ops, the first mega game from Treyarch. After World at War, Infinity Ward expanded Call of Duty with Modern Warfare 2, and this is Treyarch following suit with Black Ops expanding the universe and everything even more. This is the game that I had played in my childhood more than any of these other ones. This game is fucking incredible. I met some of my closest online friends playing Black Ops. Like, this game just blew my mind. It's where I was introduced to competitive Call of Duty. It's when, truly, I got good at Call of Duty, I'd like to think. Let's start with the campaign. My god, one of the best campaigns ever in video games. I mean, come on, the numbers, Mason, the numbers. There was so much cool shit in this campaign, both Easter egg-wise and just story stuff, callbacks to World at War, callbacks to other Call of Duty games. I mean, you had Mason introduced, you had Sergeant Woods introduced, the Vietnam setting was used very, very well, and how it kind of mixed with the Cold War sort of stuff that was going on. It was just such a beautiful and amazing campaign. One of the best zombies packages we've ever gotten. The zombies in this game are so, so good, starting with Kino their Totem, then you get Ascension, which is my personal favorite zombies map of all time. I have hundreds of hours on Ascension. Call of the Dead, Shangri-La, Moon. I remember the adventure of the map packs being revealed and the story of the zombies unfolding and just how exciting that was as a kid. It was just like the coolest thing in the world to me. Then the multiplayer. This is one of, if not my favorite multiplayer of the entire series. I love it so much. I played so much of it. The sniping is hard and challenging, but so satisfying. You had Nuketown introduced for the first time. The combat was just so much fun. Although similar to previous games, it just felt so good. The mode, Search and Destroy, was so good in this game. The maps were probably the best of the whole series. I think the best maps in the series are found in this game. Yeah, I'm gushing about Black Ops 1. We're putting it right in the greatest of all time, and we're putting it number 1. I think it's the best game so far. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Now, when this game came out at the time, you have to understand something about me. Black Ops was my favorite game ever, and I was playing it every day, religiously. And then this game came out, and I was very excited about it. You know, I loved Modern Warfare 2, and I was very interested in this game. When it came out, though, I hated it. I hated everything about Modern Warfare 3. I just thought the game was so much faster than Black Ops 1, so much messier, it felt so much more arcadey, and although, in retrospect, all of these things are okay, that's fine. A lot of Call of Duty games are like that, and they're great. It just, for me, loving Black Ops at the time, I was not personally ready for that change. So I played this game for like 3 weeks when it came out, and then I jumped right back to Black Ops. But let's talk about Modern Warfare 3 coming off of that. First off, you have a great campaign. World War 3 was the marketing tagline of this game back in the day, and that's what you get. You get World War 3. You get a continent surfing campaign where you're looking for Makarov and a whole bunch of shit's going on, and it is excellent. And the multiplayer here is solid. It's very fast-paced. Probably the fastest of any of these older classic Call of Duty games. It's super fast, super action-packed, and that's great for a lot of people, and it was great for me. The sniping is awesome and different than anything that had come before it. A lot of the stuff here is awesome. I think the maps in this game are a lot worse than the previous games. Obviously, there are some really good maps in here, like Dome is a great one. There are some classics, but I remember a lot of the maps in this game just being stinkers, and one of the reasons I just didn't enjoy playing it, I remember the spawns were broken when this game came out, which is nothing really new for the series, but the time to kill wasn't my favorite. This is just a game that I never vibed with. I understand a lot of people love it, but for me, we're gonna put Modern Warfare 3 in the mid-tier. We're gonna put it right ahead of Call of Duty 3. You know what? We'll put it at the bottom of good. I'll be nice, because I know people love it. Next up is Black Ops 2. Let's just do it. Let's get it out of the way. We're gonna put Black Ops 2 right at number 1. We'll talk about this game for hours. This is my most played video game of all time. If I somehow was able to do the math between every console, between PC, probably got thousands of hours on this game. When it came out, I was a competitive Call of Duty player. I played hours and hours of this game on competitive COD, on ranked, on all that stuff, and loved it. And then, for years and years, as I transitioned into trickshotting and doing YouTube videos on trickshotting, well, this was the game to trickshot on. Everybody who's ever in that community, they understand it. This was the game, so I played it for years, religiously, every single day. I know every spawn on every free-for-all map like the back of my hand. It's disgusting. I even played this game a couple years ago when they had like that new PC download where you could just get on and trickshot. I played hours into that. Like, this game just consumed my life. It's a big part of it. But where do we start? Just the base game. Campaign, arguably the best campaign in the entire series. This campaign felt like an RPG. You had choices. You could make choices in almost every mission that actually impacted the end of the story. And how they have never brought this back, I don't get it. It was so cool when they did it, and it was just my favorite campaign ever. And there's so much great stuff going in here, bouncing between the past and the present. You get to play as Mason again. You play as Mason's son. You get Woods coming back. You get Menendez as the villain, who's just so great. So much good stuff in this campaign. Just probably the best in the series. You get a great zombies package. In my opinion, maybe the weakest zombie package of some of these original games, but it still is pretty good. You get Transit, not a good map. You get Die Rise, also not a good map, but I played a lot of Die Rise. You get Mob of the Dead, arguably the best zombies map ever. Played hundreds of hours of this. You get Buried, another map that I loved. I loved consuming. I was really into zombies when this game was out. And of course, you get the amazing Origins, which is my personal favorite zombies map of all time. Just great zombies experience. Just, I think, the game ahead of this that I'll talk about in a few minutes. Multiplayer, though, what can I say that hasn't been said already? The maps, best maps in the series, maybe outside of Black Ops 1. Just phenomenal maps. The sniping, perfect. The regular gameplay, absolutely perfect. All the modes. The package of this game is just the best multiplayer package you're going to get in Call of Duty. It plays the best. It's the most fun to play. It's got the best energy to it, the best pacing, the best time to kill. This is the perfect Call of Duty game. They should just re-release this every year. And just say Black Ops 2 again, and we will buy it every single year. Because it's perfect. It's a perfect game. This should be a live service game. because why not? Alright, next up is Call of Duty Ghost, the most hated Call of Duty of all time, and the one that I will never understand why it got so much hate. Ghost is really good compared to a lot of the games we've gotten. Here's the thing about Ghost, it had the displeasure of coming off of Black Ops 2, which at the time everybody loved. Ghost came out, it had a very fast time to kill, it had broken spawns, it had a very colorless palette to it, it was very dark and gloomy, and it just had a vibe that people weren't into. It was also the first next-gen COD game on the PS4 and Xbox One when that console came out, so people were expecting a lot. And the game is a solid multiplayer game. I've put hundreds of hours into this one, and I loved my playtime with it. This is also the Call of Duty game I was probably, like, the best at. I did a lot of crazy shit playing competitive COD in this one. Let's start with the story. This game's got an excellent story that unfortunately ends on a cliffhanger that we will never see fulfilled. It's so unfortunate that they never made a sequel to this campaign. The game also has like a weird alien zombies mode. I forgot what it's called, but it was a lot of fun at the time. It's nowhere near as good as zombies, but we enjoyed it, me and my friends playing it when this was coming out. And the multiplayer is solid. The multiplayer kind of sold this aspect that the maps are interactive. Some of these maps have certain kill streaks you can get, which will blow up the map and essentially change it. They have movable items, movable covers. A lot of that to me was cool, and it worked. Like, I remember there was a gas station map. You could blow up the gas station, and it brings the whole thing down. Like, shit like that was cool. It was obviously trying to riff on Battlefield, which at the time was like, hey, you could blow up anything. You can blow up any building, anything. So they were clearly trying to riff on that, and it worked for me. Yes, time to kill was bad. Yes, a lot of the guns and the balancing wasn't great at the time. The sniping wasn't as satisfying. The maps weren't as great. But the game was fun, it was really quick, it was fast-paced, and it was one of the better Call of Duties, I think, from that time period. We're gonna put Call of Duty Ghost at the front of good. Next up is Advanced Warfare, the first of the boost jumping CODs. You know the boost jump stuff. I'm sorry, that was a lot funnier in my head. But, you know, the games where you fucking jump up. We got 3 of these joints, and this was the first one, and it's the only true one. This is the only game where you're literally, when you double jump, you fly, man. This game's movement was insane, and at the time, it was very revolutionary. It was obviously riffing off of Titanfall, which was the big game at the time. This came out, and I was very unsure about it. The combat of this game, for me, although I found fun at first, quickly, kind of, you realize that it's very different from any other Call of Duty game. The combat doesn't have the same natural flow that you were really accustomed to at any of the other Call of Duty games, and it takes a lot of adjustment. Now, at the time, it was a fresh reset of a franchise that really needed sort of a fresh reset. And if you really got into the game's combat, got used to the flow of it, and got good at it, the game had a lot to offer. The maps were unique, the setting was unique, and a lot of what this game had to offer was a lot of fun. But going back to the game, it just feels like buddy hopping. You're just flying around randomly, everybody's just spamming double tap an A or X or whatever console you play, and just, it didn't really flow. This game also had a really bad pay-to-win scheme. Essentially what it had was Call of Duty's first supply drop system, and the issue is, the supply drops in this game were not just cosmetic. This was at a time where the gaming industry was still trying to figure out what supply drops really were and how to really do microtransactions. So out of these supply drops were not just cool outfits, cool camos, they were actually variants of guns. And I will say at the time, it was a very cool system. I got so into it. This hunt to try to get the best weapons in the game, because some of the variants of these guns were incredibly better than other ones. For example, the Speakeasy of the ASMR-1, I believe it was called, was like the greatest gun in the game, and it was so hard to get. Now, because of this, there was a big trend on YouTube. A bunch of the big Call of Duty YouTubers would do these massive supply drop opening videos, which led to 12-year-olds like me going and buying like $50, $60, $70, $80 worth of supply drops. It was scummy. I remember for like my birthday, I got like $200 from a family member, and I spent like $100 of it on supply drops and got nothing and felt so empty. And I have never let the microtransaction scheme and scam ever get me again, because that was terrible. So that system, not good, bad for the industry, bad for the game, but this game had a lot of other stuff to offer. The campaign was really great with Kevin Spacey. It had a whole arc about PMCs and how that connects to the rest of the world. Kevin Spacey, whatever you want to think about him, he's really good in the game, really entertaining. Love the campaign for this game. This game also had a really good zombies mode that was only a DLC. You can only get it in the DLCs, but this is probably the best non-Treyarch zombie mode that I think we've gotten. I really, really enjoyed it. Overall, this is a good game. We're going to put it right behind Call of Duty Ghosts, right here in the good category. Now we have Call of Duty Black Ops 3. This is a game that is absolutely great. Black Ops 3, the third sequel to Black Ops 2. It's not a perfect game, but it's definitely one of the better newer games. It's definitely the best of the advanced movement games. Black Ops 3, obviously, you have a double jump type system. It's a jetpack system, and you also have wall running and big slides and all this stuff. This game does it the best, though. The combat has a better flow than Advanced Warfare. People aren't just spamming the jetpacks. There is more strategy that goes involved in it. It's tighter, it's quicker, and it feels better to play. The gunplay in the game is beautiful. It's the classic Treyarch state-of-the-art gunplay. The maps are really, really great. The multiplayer of Black Ops 3 is super underrated. I put so many hours into this. It's probably my third or fourth most played Call of Duty. I did a lot of trick shotting, the sniping is good. Multiplayer on Black Ops 3 is amazing. This game's campaign, I didn't love it. This campaign tried to do something different. It tried to go for more of a Halo gameplay where it's kind of open pads. The story of this game doesn't really continue the story from the previous Black Ops games, and it's just this really metaphorical, kind of nonsensical plot here that I just was not into at all. But there are some people that like the campaign here. The highlight of this game, though, are the zombies. This is the best zombies package we have gotten in any game ever. They launched the game with Shadows of Evil, which is one of the best zombie maps of all time. It just was so intricate, so big, and it felt so special. They immediately came out with a DLC of Der Eisendrache, which is my personal favorite zombies map ever. I have almost 100 hours probably in this map alone. I played so much of it. It's so great. The bow quests, everything going on there. So good. Then you had Zetsubo no Shima. Not a good map, but Gorod Krovi, probably the highest round. I think I went to like 150, which I had never made round 100 on any other map ever, but I found the cheesiest strategy on Gorod Krovi after hours and hours of playing. I got like I don't remember the number, but it was like 150 or so. It was crazy. It was so much fun. I remember the hype around the last map, which I think it was called Revelations. The map ended up not being very good, but all the hype around it and trying to figure out what the Easter egg in the story was going to be was so great. And then, of course, they eventually released Call of Duty Chronicles, Zombie Chronicles, which put all the OG maps back in the game. So now, anytime I want to play zombies, I reinstall Black Ops 3, and I go play it on BO3, because it's the best zombies we've ever gotten. Black Ops 3 is a great game. Not only is it great, but it's actually fantastic. We're going to put it right in front of World at War. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Listen, this is a tough game to talk about because they kind of did a weird thing this year. They actually released 2 Call of Duty games, and we're going to talk about the second one in a second, but they released Infinite Warfare along with Modern Warfare Remastered. Now, Infinite Warfare was an advanced movement game. It had movement very similar to Black Ops 3, and at the time, people were kind of sick of that. They wanted a boots-on-the-ground COD. They also wanted an OG feeling type COD, so when Modern Warfare Remastered came out, most people played that game, and they didn't really play Infinite Warfare. This has to be the least played Call of Duty, I think, ever. It's also my least played Call of Duty ever. I have, like, barely any time on this game. I think I only have, like, about 15 hours total played on this game, most of which was on the beta. So it's hard for me to talk about it. I'll say this, the campaign for this game, I absolutely loved it. There was a sense of freedom, this weird kind of mechanic where you're controlling this ship. You have this big, gigantic ship, and you could really go anywhere in the solar system and do these different missions and side quests. It had a really, really cool campaign. I know Kit Harington showed up at one point in it. The multiplayer here, from what I had played, was not atrocious. It was fun, it was quick, it was essentially Black Ops 3, but in the Infinity Ward style. It just, yet again, at the time, I was kind of sick of the advanced movement Call of Duties. We had gotten 2 in a row, and we didn't really want a third in a row, and we got it. So I wasn't playing this. I was playing Modern Warfare Remastered. The zombies for this game was also kind of fun from what I had played of it. I didn't get to play too much of it, but it definitely was not my favorite version of zombies. Overall, this game was just a little bit mid. We're going to put it here. I could see if you're somebody who played a lot of Infinite Warfare if you think it should be in a higher tier, but we're going to put it in mid. But then we have Modern Warfare Remastered, and listen, if you love the original COD 4, you loved Modern Warfare Remastered. I put so many hours into this game. I loved every second of my time playing with it. I wish the servers weren't dead because I want to play it now. They should be remaking all the games like they did with this one, because this was essentially a remake, not a remaster, and it was brilliantly done. I had so much fun in this game, replaying the campaign, but then the multiplayer, which felt just as good, just as tight, just as simple, and it was just so much fun to relive these maps, relive a lot of the stuff. The only reason this game is not going to be in the top tier is because they put loot boxes and stupid camo cosmetic DLCs in there that just water the whole thing down. Because of that, we're going to put COD 4 in Fantastic. I'll put it right in front of World at War. Next up is Call of Duty World War II. I remember the hype for this game because it was the first Call of Duty in 4 years that was boots on the ground, no big boosting, and that was a huge deal at the time. If you were back then, you remember what it was like. Everybody was so excited for this, and it was also a game that set itself in World War II, the first one since World at War. This was a game that I also played a lot of, and I actually had a great time with it. The campaign, first off, is awesome. It's a classic World War II story, starting with the Saving Private Ryan, you know, Omaha Beach, D-Day, storming of D-Day, going through the whole western front of the war and just storming towards Berlin. This whole campaign was awesome. It was emotional. It had a lot of good cinematics in it. I loved it. The zombies in this game, kind of forgettable. I remember the whole vibe was it's Nazi zombies. It's going to be scary. I don't remember anything that I had played from the zombies from this. But the multiplayer was fun. It was really, really fast-paced. I remember that. At the time, the kill was a little bit fast, but the game was really, really cool. It was a lot of fun to play. A lot of the maps were really big, but there were a couple really small maps that I had a good time with. I remember the guns were super satisfying. The sniping was good. This was a fun Call of Duty. Also, the first one that was mainly developed by Sledgehammer Games, who have now, of course, become one of the main developers, the trifecta of Call of Duty developers. And this game is good. So good, in fact, we're going to put it at the top of good. I think it's better than all of these games, but I wouldn't put it in great, I don't think. Next up is Black Ops 4. This is a weird game to rank, because automatically it drops a couple tiers, because there's no campaign in this game. This is the first and only Call of Duty game that did not include a campaign. They thought they didn't have to build one, and nobody would notice. Stupid. The campaigns are like the best part of these games. But the game did have multiplayer, and it did have zombies. Now let's start with the zombies. The zombies in this game, probably my least favorite zombie experience in all of Call of Duty. Something about the zombies in this game just didn't click with me. They kind of removed the classic perk system, and just what they had replaced it with did not work essentially for me. They added a new zombie story that was not, you know, similar to the normal Treyarch zombie story. It was kind of like a different universe, and that just never vibed with me. Some of the maps were good, some of them not so much. This was just a mode that I didn't get to play too much of because I just did not have a good first impression with it, so I didn't play that much zombies in BO4. The multiplayer, though, I actually think is underrated. A lot of people hate it. One of the big changes they made was 150 HP, which meant the time to kill was a little bit slower. I was fine with that. The game also put in automatic stimming, so you did not heal automatically. You had to heal yourself, a mechanic that I love, and I wish they had kept in Call of Duty, because it just added a little bit of strategy to the game that you didn't really have in other games. A big issue I had with the multiplayer, though, is that it was probably the least innovative multiplayer experience we had up until this time. Now, I don't mean we did have those two big changes, the stimming with the health, all that stuff, the HP, I get that, but when I mean least innovative, I mean this is essentially Black Ops 3 without the movement. That's what it is. The game doesn't really look different. It doesn't feel different. There's no real change here. It just felt like BO3, but they took out the boost jumping and added a couple different, different changes to the health systems. Because of that, the game never felt new. It just felt more like a DLC, and I didn't get that into it. I did play a lot of this game on release, and I had a lot of fun with it, but ultimately, it just kind of felt like a forgettable Call of Duty. Not really deserving of the Black Ops name. Because of that, we're going to put it at the bottom of the good tier. I think it's the worst out of all these games, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's mid. Next up, we're going to talk about Blackout, which is the Battle Royale on Black Ops 4. We're going to talk about the Battle Royale separately as they came out with each game. Blackout was the first one, and it's the one that was easily the worst. Blackout was a test run for Battle Royales in Call of Duty. It was a test run for this whole saga. Something about it, though, was just not fun. It looked cool aesthetically. The locations that connected to the Treyarch universe were really cool, but the looting system was bad. You spent so many times looking through menus. The gun system was bad. The game played so much slower than it should have. Blackout was just... it's not good. So Blackout will go in the bad tier. Now let's talk about 2019's Modern Warfare, the reboot of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare series, and essentially the relaunch of Call of Duty in general. Call of Duty was in desperate need of kind of a reshaping and a relaunch, and this was the game that kind of did it, and it did it fantastically. Modern Warfare is being sold as a new realistic Call of Duty game. This is going to be a grounded realism-based Call of Duty game, and we got that with the main campaign, the best campaign we had gotten in years, especially after the previous year where we didn't get any campaign. The campaign had really, really tight mission structure. It brought back characters like Captain Price and some other people, and it was just a really good experience in the campaign. That transition to multiplayer, which was probably the freshest, best version of multiplayer we have gotten in so long. The multiplayer of this game was so revolutionary. It took place on a new engine. The first time Call of Duty had a new engine ever, and the engine was great. It was fast. The gunplay was tight. The worst part about this game was at launch, it was a camp fest. The time to kill was so fast, people were so afraid to play this game with a fast pace. So what do? They camped, and the game was almost unplayable for months just because of the play style that was dictated by the game. It also had a bad mechanic when the game launched. They took out the frickin' mini-map for some reason, which was one of the dumbest decisions ever. Of course, they eventually brought it back. This game, about 6 months after release, became what I thought at the time was one of the greatest Call of Duty games ever. It was just masterful to play. I had so much fun with it. This game was literally the COVID game. This is the game I played during COVID, and it was therapy during COVID. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Call of Duty 2019 Modern Warfare is one of the best Call of Duty games, but it's not the best. So where are we going to put it? We could put it as greatest of all time, but we're going to put it at the top of fantastic. I think it doesn't deserve to be in this tier. And then we have Warzone 1. Warzone number 1, one of the greatest things ever. Let's just be honest here. Warzone 1 is incredible. I've put so many hours in the Warzone, and we all know when Warzone hit, when you were in it and when it was hitting, when it was addictive, It was some of the best gaming experiences you could ever have, and I had so much fun with Warzone during COVID, the year after COVID, getting good at it, sniping, trying different strategies, the thrill of victory. I love Warzone. If you love Battle Royales, this is honestly probably the best Battle Royale we had ever gotten, other than maybe OG Fortnite. I love Warzone. I don't even have to talk about it that much. We're putting it in greatest of all time. We'll put it at the bottom just because it's not really a full game, and it's really just Modern Warfare's Warzone, because it's not. Next up is Black Ops Cold War. I hate this game. I'm just going to come out and say it. I did not like anything about this game. The campaign for this game was really weird. Black Ops Cold War had this campaign that brought back Woods, it brought back Mason, but it felt so watered down. It felt like they weren't supposed to be in this game. It felt like this game was supposed to be something else, and then it ended up being a Black Ops game just to kind of sell copies, and they had just copied and pasted the characters that we know and love into the game at the end of development. It just felt weird. The campaign felt empty. It felt kind of like a less cinematic version of the original Black Ops. It felt rushed. I don't love the campaign here. I also don't love the zombies. I know a lot of people really love the zombies here, but this zombies mode introduced a lot of things that I don't like about modern zombies. Stuff like the minimap, stuff like seeing hit markers when you shoot the zombies and seeing frickin' point things pop up when you kill them. The Pack-a-Punch, which has lost all the cinematic style that it had ever had. The zombies in this game just did not enjoy. I remember when the beta for this game came out, I really loved the look, this neon-y sort of dark vibe look. The sniping was so overpowered and fun, and then the game comes out, the sniping is just toned down completely to the place where it was almost useless. The gunplay just felt like, it felt so much worse than what Modern Warfare 2019 gave us. The maps were not good whatsoever. This is a game, I get a lot of people like it, I just don't see it. I don't get why people love it. Most of my playtime in this game was playing Gunfight, the 2v2 mode. I like that. That was fun. But ultimately, Cold War will go in the bad tier, right below Blackout. Next up is Call of Duty Vanguard, the game that everybody seems to hate. I don't. I loved Vanguard. I genuinely love it. I don't see why. I don't understand the hate for this one. Call of Duty Vanguard had one of the fastest multiplayer experiences I've ever played. And maybe it's just me. It's a preference. I love fast games. I love the COD games that move the fastest, had the quickest time to kill, and really, really sort of center on skill level within the game. And I love the multiplayer of this game. It was so fast-paced. It was so easy to drop nukes and get high kill streaks and dominate games. This game was so much fun. I love the flow on a lot of the maps. I love the game modes. I enjoyed the Vanguard multiplayer. It was like the most fun I had had on multiplayer since those early COVID days of Modern Warfare 2019. The campaign in this game, I could take it or leave it. Kind of a boring campaign. The zombies, not very good. But that multiplayer experience is fun. I don't understand the hate for this one. I would go back and play Vanguard any day of the week. I think it's Sledgehammer's best game. We're going to put this in the good tier. Yeah, that looks just about right. Then we get into Modern Warfare 2. What a stinker. Modern Warfare 2 was the sequel to 2019's Modern Warfare. This was the game that needed to be great. It needed to be big. It needed to be a continuation of the original 2019 Modern Warfare and build off of the success of that game. It didn't. It didn't do that. The game took everything that worked about Modern Warfare 2019 and just made it all worse. The combat was slower. The combat was so slow. The time to kill was ridiculous. The maps were horrendous. This game at launch and for a lot of its run was damn near unplayable. This was the least amount of fun I have ever had playing a Call of Duty game was Modern Warfare 2. I absolutely despised playing this game on launch. I thought it was atrocious. I thought the campaign was okay, although the difficulty spikes in the campaign are weird. There's a lot of missions in the campaign that just have really, really bad game design. Like game design that a studio who had never developed a game, they might make the mistakes in some of the game design, but like Infinity Ward, who's, a 20-year veteran of the industry, has made, many, many campaigns. It just doesn't make sense. Some of the game, I don't know how to describe it, but there's just really bad missions in this game, but there's also great ones. It's nowhere near the worst campaign in Call of Duty, but it's not great. Spec Ops mode wasn't fun. Overall, Modern Warfare 2 is a stinker. Modern Warfare 2 is going in the trash. And then you have Warzone 2. I haven't played that much of Warzone 2.0, but what I have played of it, I haven't loved it, because yet again, it's Warzone 1, but slowed down with the Modern Warfare 2 combat. So therefore, it is just not as good. It is a worse version of a better experience. Is it worse than Modern Warfare 2 overall? No. I think there's more fun to be had in the core gameplay style of Warzone. I think there's a lot of fun to be had on Rebirth Island and all that stuff. So the game is playable, it's enjoyable, and I have had some fun playing it. But compared to everything else, it's just mid. Now we come to the last Call of Duty game we're going to talk about, and we're talking about Modern Warfare 3. I wish there was a tier below trash, guys. So let's just put this in at dead last. Boom! Modern Warfare 3 is the worst Call of Duty game, and there's a bunch of reasons why. Number one, it's not a new game. It's a DLC that they charge $70 for. They charge $70 to give you guys maps that were made almost 15, 20 years ago, and to speed up the movement of the game a little bit more. Does the game play better than last year's Modern Warfare 2? Yes. Those, the movement changes make the game better. I had fun playing Modern Warfare 3 the first couple days, because the game does have some changes to the Modern Warfare 2 core mechanics that make it slightly better. But the principle of what this game is, this game being a legitimate update, there is nothing new about the actual game, the core of the game. This is just an update, an actual update to the game that came out last year that they charged $70 for. People used to make jokes all the time how every year Call of Duty releases the same game every single year, just with new guns and maps. But that was pretty much an overstep of a joke. Each game had its own sort of reworking of the engine. It felt unique. It felt a little different. This is legitimately, they took the same game, they updated it to put stuff into the game that it should have been in Modern Warfare 2 at launch. Then they took old maps that were going to be DLC in Modern Warfare 2, they threw that in, and they said, here's a new game. By the way, we built the shittiest campaign in the history of campaigns. It's like 3 hours long, and it's atrocious. This game is a joke. It's an embarrassment to the industry, and it damn near killed this franchise. It might have killed it. We got to see what's coming out this year with Treyarch's new game. This game was a piece of shit. If there was a tier below trash, it would be there. So that's my tier. As you can see, I love most of these games. We have the 5 greatest of all time, which I really don't think can be disputed at all, especially Black Ops 2, Black Ops, COD 4, Modern Warfare 2. Those 4 games, unbelievable. You got a few in Fantastic that just kind of missed the top. And then I think that kind of distance between good and great, I think we really got to highlight that. There's a big difference between great and good, right? So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. I'm sure you disagreed with everything. Leave a comment down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to click the video on the screen right now. I'll see you guys in the next one.